So contrarian performance, upper body strength. We're going to do exclusively the twisted mule strength training system, which is pushing and pulling while doing push-ups. And this is going to get you stronger and more muscle mass than you would get with free weights. So when you go back, say in your school, and work out in the weight room, you're gonna see your lifts go up dramatically, say your pull-ups, your bench press. So we had 3 West High School football players that finished the school year at their peak strength-wise. They just finished all their lifting for the spring and their spring football game, and they were taking 2 weeks off before they started their summer training. And they had a few guys that didn't want to take those 2 weeks off. They came in and trained with us, and we did nothing upper body other than the twisted mule push-up system. And these are the results. It's in their bench press, when they already thought they were at their peak strength. What their bench press max did, what their pull-up max did, the numbers are pretty significant. So if you're infatuated with the bench press, we're probably not the place for you, because we're not gonna bench press. Oh, wait a minute. If you're infatuated with your bench press, this is where you wanna be, because doing the twisted mule push-up system is gonna jack that bench press up, and those pull-ups are gonna go through the roof. So now you'll see on the West chart the 5-10-5 results, the speed and agility, which incredible gains. And that is because of our leg systems, which are contrarian, that are going to allow you to apply force into the ground and out of the ground better than any conventional training. And we're contrarian. We don't do box jumps. We don't do bounding. We don't do that type of thing. This is like in-season training all year long. You're going to feel faster the next day after training. There's not going to be a need for recovery. You're always going to feel good the next day, not, oh, that was a tough workout, and I feel it in my lower back, and my legs are tired. That's never going to occur. You can do this the whole year round and make gains. You don't have to tailor your training to how much are you in season playing games, are you practicing your conditioning, and so on. So functional training with the lower body part of the circuit. What's more functional than driving your hips into the ground, which has never been done before in any other strength system? There's other types of things that people do in training. They may do some type of glute bridges. So I ask you, is that more functional, laying on your back and then pressing your hips up, pushing your hips up, than being on your feet and driving into the ground? So half of life is driving into the ground and then driving out of the ground, into the ground, out of the ground. So running, jumping, walking, real life. That's the part of training that's never been done before, the driving into the ground. It's only been done with the driving out of the ground. So then you're getting that aspect of it. Here you're getting the aspect of instability while you're driving out of the ground in a squat, and the functionality of driving into the ground and driving out of the ground done simultaneously on the Depth-Con 2 magnetic resistance, driving into the ground and driving out of the ground. You can't get a more functional training lower body workout in the world. So we'll take a little deeper dive into each leg system now. The ground bull is reverse squatting, and that prepares you to drive into the ground if you're going to jump. It's muscle sequence firing pattern. You explode into the ground and control out of the ground on this. So you're getting the opposite of a regular squat. You're getting your positive on the way down and your negative on the way up, or your concentric and then your eccentric, which is the opposite of regular squatting, which we'll go over in a minute. But so now you load into the ab slings, your upper body becomes neutral and becomes a pull down to your hip. So as soon as I start pulling down, I'm loading into where you would jump or run or cut. You know, you're driving into the ground to make a cut. And the improvements that the West players showed, a lot of it's in part two. When you go to change direction on a 5-10-5 shuttle run, you don't have to bend as much to plant and stop. You don't sink into the ground. You're just much more quicker on your change, because your glutes and hamstrings are developed to the point where they're absorbing the force, and you're not your knee and your quad. You want to be more glute hamstring dominant than knee quad dominant, and that's what this training gives you. All right, so we just looked at applying force into the ground on the ground bull and reverse squatting. In a typical squat, you're controlling force into the ground and driving force out of the ground. If you squat really intense, you're going to know it the next day. It's going to be, because of the pressure on your back and knees. In that particular linear movement, your knees are sliding over your toes. There's some extremely high-level athletic performance people in our country, some of the leaders, who don't even put a bar on people's shoulders anymore. They don't believe in it because of the long-term effects for back compression and knee strain. So this natural balance squat takes that away. It allows you to train really intense, but you're not going to feel that back and knee strain the next day. Because when you have to balance, we can make this stable, but the magic happens in the balance part. So as you have to balance it, it'll shift the load to your auxiliary muscles, and particularly your glutes and your hamstrings immediately. So whenever you have a bar on your shoulders, the coach will say, get down deep, you gotta get low, you gotta get to parallel, because you don't activate your glutes and hamstrings until you get to parallel. Here, on the natural balance squat, as soon as you start to shift to keep the tread plate balanced, you'll feel your hamstrings and your glutes fire. And that's what happens when you're walking and running. Your glutes and hamstrings fire immediately. So you're training those on the ground bull in a way that you can't in any other way in the world. That's dramatic, but this is the only reverse squat machine in the world. It's in the patenting process. We'd like to get it out there, but it's a hard road to try to convince strength people that there's something out there that's new and different and better than what you're doing now with hip thrusts and glute bridges and leg curls and Nordic curls, whatever. That's a compound movement, the reverse squat, that hits all those major muscles in a compound movement, multi-joint movement. So not isolation movements like a Nordic curl or a glute ham raise. So you're getting that balancing aspect, and your glutes and hamstrings fire immediately. Gives you more stability when you're walking and jumping and running. And it allows you also to keep your knees further back, so your knees aren't going forward, they're staying hinged. You can get deep, you can lift a lot of weight. It's very comfortable with the padded yokes. Bar moves free, so you are controlling it, so it's functional. You're following your own path, not, if you've ever seen a Smith machine, it's on a track and people try to squat on those, and that's not functional because you're in a fixed path. But it allows you to do very, very many different stances, diagonal stances. Because you can hold on to handles here, you can do really rapid quarter squats in a jumping movement. And again, it's all easy on your joints because you're not having to hold the bar back here with your hands. You're able to hold the handles out in front. You're able to sit back more and keep your knees from shearing forward. And it'll give you more benefits than a bar. All right, so we've talked about on the ground bull, driving force into the ground, on the natural balance squat, and squatting in general, driving force out of the ground. Now, the depth con 2, depth is in deep, con is in concentric, 2 is in two-way concentric. Concentric is positive. If you're doing a bicep curl, that's positive. That's negative. On a squat, regular squat, like say with a bar, that's negative, that's positive. On this, there's no negative, so concentric 2, depth con 2. You have to drive force into the ground, out of the ground, and so it really mimics athletic explosiveness. This is where you're just pouring fire. This is where you're pouring gasoline on the fire that you lit on the ground bull and the natural balance squat. It's pure, fast twitch muscle building. You are the magnetic force, very expensive technology. This costs like $6,000 just to make the magnetic chamber I'm not talking about the machine itself, the frame around it. So there's a fin, we call this piece of metal, attaching the carriage to, runs inside the magnetic chamber. So it's here, extends into the middle. And so you have to drive that fin up and down the magnetic force. If I go slow, it's not very hard to drive the magnet up and down. If I go fast, the magnets resist you more. The more force you apply, the more the magnets resist you. Very, very unique. This is where you really get the explosiveness. This is why we're contrarian. We don't have to do box jumps and jump over cones and bounding. We don't have to do those things, which tire you out and don't give you as much benefit as this. This does not tear your muscles down. It only makes you bouncy and explosive. So then what happens is you can even take some of those concepts of jumping and apply them on this machine in a joint-friendly and more explosive building way. So now I'm going to go down and drive it into the ground. Then I'm going to jump and bring it up out of the ground again. So that just in comparison to, say, a depth jump is so much more beneficial. A depth jump is jumping from a height, absorbing force, and then exploding up. But in real life, you don't control force into the ground and then jump. You drive force into the ground and jump, and that's exactly what this does. This is the most game-changing thing that's ever been developed in athletic performance, to jump higher, run faster, and cut quicker. So there's definitely benefits to regular deadlifting with a trap bar, but you got the weight plates, and you got the back soreness, the spinal compression that occurs. We have a couple CrossFit people who just joined us recently because their back was sore from things like the deadlifts they do. This allows you to go really deep. No back compression, no spinal compression. I'm 67. I've been doing this for a few years, always experimenting and training really hard on it. And if it's not going to hurt my back, I don't know whose back it's going to hurt, because it's just pure force. You can get into different stances. You transfer it to the playing field. You can get into a forward lean. It'll allow you to train explosively in planes that when you're accelerating and changing direction, it just has an endless amount of applications and benefits. And the main thing is it's just pure speed and explosiveness.